Welcome to Classical Chats. My name is Tiffany. I'm a classical pianist, also the host of this series where I talk to all kinds of people who love classical music. Also the founder of Together with Classical, in case you still don't know, nonprofit charity dedicated to sharing everyone's passion for classical music. Doesn't matter who you are. So today we have Shreya Ghosh in India, and we're going to talk about her journey with classical music, becoming a pianist in India, and what it's like for her. Thank you so much for coming on to Classical
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I'm just curious. Well, I asked this for all of my guests on Classical Chats, how your journey with classical music started, and yeah, and go from there.
I started learning classical piano like at age 4.
Mm,
And in India, we don't have a lot of people don't have exposure in terms of what is Western classical music. So when until I was 6 years old, I had this British teacher. She was wonderful, and obviously I had John Thompson's, and I learned a little bit of Scarlatti, Mozart, and things like that.
mm-hmm.
So when I was 6, I actually shifted to a different state. And when I got my new teacher, he told me that I played pieces that were not for someone my age. So he kind of brought me down to playing nursery rhymes and things like that. And it was, at back then, the problem with me is I don't come from a musical background, you see, and my parents had no idea when you say classical music.
So, how did you get exposed to classical music, especially because it's not so popular in India?
For me, it has been a trial and error method, you see, because like since I started really young, I did not, have that entire quota that I want to learn classical music.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I was learning piano.
Mm-hmm.
My parents mostly wanted me to learn classical music, and then I fell in love with it in the process. But if you ask me, like when I was exactly introduced, or when I understood what classical music was, or when I professionally started learning it, I would say I was at age 12 after a huge, struggling journey before that. In India, when you say Western classical music, people will be like, okay, so you play Beethoven or you play Mozart, and they don't know any other names. Coming from a country like this, I think it's a challenge while learning and also having opportunities to perform and pursue this as a career.
So, well, two things. Your parents still wanted you to learn piano, and they still insisted that you learn classical music, whatever that means. That could be Beethoven, Mozart, or but
Yeah.
they knew that what you were getting from your teachers weren't what they were looking for. So I guess they have they have been exposed to classical music somehow anyway. So it's interesting to hear, or it would be interesting to hear how your experience is like growing up. And how old are you right now?
I'm 20.
You're 20. Ah, so you're not that much younger than I am. So how has it been like growing up in that environment of not having so much opportunities, and education might not be as great as you would like it to be in classical music? So how has it been like?
See, I think I never thought that my education was not that good enough until I was like 15 or 16, because I was more of a CD listener person. I would listen to classical music on CDs.
Mm,
And I was
me
introduced,
too.
I started listening to classical music on YouTube at a very late stage. And that is when I was introduced to the world outside India. And, when I saw people of my age or even younger people play the same pieces as I'm playing in a very professional level, and they're performing and they're playing for people, and I wasn't doing any of it back then, and I don't think I still do much of it, you see.
Mm,
It was, I'll be very honest, in the beginning, it was quite intimidating because, I just, at that point, until then, I knew that I was receiving a really nice training, right? I mean, I've been learning piano since a really young age. And then I've been learning classical music since I was 12, like
mm,
professionally. And, I was like, yes, I want to be a performer. It's going to be hard, but I'm going to try. And then after a certain age, you just, you're hit with, these performances. And it was really intimidating. And at that point, I compared my level to, people outside India. And I was like, okay, now this is what it needs. Today, I won't say it's as intimidating as it used to be. It still intimidates me, but I think I, listen to those performances and I go like, okay, what are they doing differently? And what do I need to do to get to that level? And I think that just keeps me going. It does not bring me down. I don't like listen to performances and go like, I'm never going to get to that level. I sit and be like, okay, they are playing this way, and okay, I need to do these things, and let me try that myself and see, you know, if I can get there.
So I guess you wanting to play and constantly study how others people play kind of helped you get not past it necessarily, but at least not be intimidated in a way that's bringing you down or not being able to study because you are intimidated. Is that
Yeah.
kind of how it helped?
Yeah, I mean, like by the time I was exposed to these performances, I had already decided that I wanted to be a performer. I loved piano. I was already learning classical pieces, and I loved what I did. I loved what I played, and at that point, there was no turning back for me. I never thought that, okay, I'm not going to become this. I can't become this. And I think it was a thing like, there was this little sound in my head that went like, okay, no, you've got to do this. You can do this. You still will be able to do this. Just look at it positively and, see how you can grow.
Hmm.
So
That's very mature. Look at it positively and see how you can grow. Um, did you have like a turning point where it was you weren't intimidated anymore, but you were looking at it more positively? Was there something that kind of clicked in you?
for a long time, I actually would look at these, like watch these performances, and I still, sometimes watch them and I go like, okay, it's not happening. There are those days, 1 or 2 days when I just sit down and I'm like, no, this isn't happening. When I learn new pieces and I can't do it as fast as other people do, maybe I get really demotivated. But then it's probably a one evening thing. I can't really tell what happens, but it's the next day morning, it's like a new day. And I'm like, okay, now I have to start. It doesn't matter what I was thinking yesterday or what I was feeling yesterday.
Hmm.
Today is just, okay, so I did this much yesterday and I'm going to continue from here.
That's wonderful. It's a very positive thinking, and it's a great mindset to just have a new start of the day and then try again. That's good. So you're never
Yeah,
you pick yourself
you.
back up and you start again and keep trying. So how do you see
Yeah.
classical music growing or not growing, or how do you see yourself? You want to be a performer, you say.
Yeah, I am aiming to be a performer, but there are obviously a lot of challenges because performance in India, especially classical music performance, does not happen very often. It's a very rare occurrence that you get to watch classical music. I won't say that everybody in India has the same experience as I do. There are people who have brilliant teachers and they have better learning and they play way better than I do. But when it comes to performance opportunities, I don't think Indians actually we struggle a little bit, especially in our to perform in our country, because there are not much people who know much about classical music. So not many people are going to come watch you when you go to perform. Maybe if you perform in a music school or something like that, you can have people come watch you. But if you ever want to perform like, just like that, or for, no one's going to, not many people are going to come watch. And that's kind of a bit of a struggle here because it's hard to make a career. It's hard everywhere in the world, and it is even harder here. And I think along with a lot of other, I've read a lot of other people of my age who are into classical music, are trying our best to, spread the word of classical music, to, inform people what is it about, and, to go to different music schools and having, the word spread that, okay, I'll be performing here. Why don't you come and give it a try? Give it a listen, and then if you don't like it, right, you can just leave. But the thing is, like, many people over here are not aware of classical music. I mean, people are, but it's not the majority, because we already have Indian classical. And when there's a performance of Indian classical and then there's someone performing Western classical, the majority people will go to listen to Indian classical, and that's kind of given. So Western classical, like, it's growing. I won't say it's dead. It's growing, and hopefully, it's going to be something huge by the time I grow old.
That's interesting. I don't know so much about Indian classical and if that has any relation at all with Western classical in terms of influences, but what do you think are some ways that we could do to raise awareness, or what are some things that you would do or tell people who don't feel like they would go to a Western classical music concert or performance in India?
I think what's most important from my point of view is just performance opportunities. Unless and until people come to watch, they won't know what the music is about. They are absolutely clueless. And that is most important. That is people giving classical musicians, especially a lot of students or a lot of musicians in India are the first in their family, like myself, to pursue music. And people who organize performances should be giving people opportunities, especially young classical musicians or even classical musicians in general, to come out and perform. I think that if you organize a show, people are going to come watch. If not 100 people, the first day you'll have 50, and it's going to grow like that. I think that's what's going to help. People just need to be exposed. They don't have the exposure. And once they're exposed, I believe they're going to love it.
Was there a classical piece that you remember that made your passion for classical music grow? Just like how you say you just have to listen and then you will grow to love it.
I can't remember a particular piece, but I there was a time when my mom used to scream and be like, you need to practice 2 hours of practice every day. And but one day I found myself just going to the piano, sitting and playing. If I didn't want to study, I was going and I was playing. And if I wasn't sleepy, I was going and I was practicing piano. And
Oh.
nobody actually had to tell me to practice. Nobody had to tell me to learn new pieces, and I would just listen to something and I would print the sheet music and play, like learn it on my own. And, I would automatically go and just start practicing and playing. And that day I knew that, this is something I like to do. This is something I want to do. I can't remember a particular piece, but just one day I was playing it a lot. And I'm like, yes, I love this. I'm going to do this.
Hmm. Well, that's also, I know it might not have been a great question to ask because I don't know how I would answer. Also, I think I remember when I was 2, 3 years old, I loved listening to operas. I don't know why. I mean, they're a bit dramatic for a 2, 3 year old, but for example, Carmen was a very big memory in my brain still of me trying to play along with it on a toy piano. So that would be something that kind of stuck with me, but I wouldn't say that it was the turning point that made me love classical music. As you say, I probably did not know as young people, like such a young age, to know what classical music is until you grow much older. But you say that when you were around 12, you say that that's when you kind of knew what classical music meant and that you want to pursue this.
Yes. So when I was 12, I had this teacher who started teaching, like, who asked me to play. And then he actually is like, trained to, like, he was trained, he was like properly trained, one of the people who are actually trained well
Mhm.
in my country. And when he asked my parents that, what do you want her to learn? They said, I want our daughter to learn classical music. And they kind of explained him that, she has not been learning that till date. And he said that, okay, so he kind of started training me for the Trinity grade exams.
Mhm.
And that was my exposure to classical music. That's kind of preparing for
Ah.
exams every year. And I did not give like since grade 1 or 2 because those were pieces that I could play, you know,
Mhm.
it wasn't difficult for me. So I kind of started at a high level. I started since like grade 4, grade 5. Um, like that. So he knew exactly what my parents wanted, what I wanted. Like I did not want much. I really still did not have much of an idea,
Mhm.
but he knew what my parents wanted, and he did it. He introduced classical music, and that is actually the music I like more than what I was being taught.
Mhm.
So I knew that okay, this is Western classical. And then obviously as I grew, I heard listened to more performances and then started listening to YouTube and it just kept on growing. There was no turning back from there.
Hmm. That's interesting. But I hope that you will be able to achieve your goals. because you are very
I hope.
determined and you think that there's no turning back, so you're determined to keep going forward. That's very inspiring. And even though
Yeah,
there might not be a lot of performances opportunities, but I always feel like nowadays with the digital world, social media, that
yeah,
you can create performance opportunities for yourself so easily.
yeah. Like that's what I think 2020 has taught us how to use the digital platform. I don't think I would have used, Instagram Live or Facebook Live for any of my performances. So today I, have a lot of Zoom meetings with my friends, and we perform for each other. I go
Oh,
live on
okay.
Instagram, we go live on Facebook, and we perform. So I have not done any performances like individually, like from like performance by Shreya Ghosh kind of thing, but
Mhm.
I have surely like done it with a group of people, and I think yeah, that's it's kind of the start, and then you just I don't, as I said, there's no turning back, so I think I'm not going to stop. So probably next year I'll have a performance of my own, like
Yeah,
in
I'm
my
sure. I mean,
my
yeah, you're so determined, and you keep saying there's no turning back, there's no turning back. So you just know what your goal is, and I think that's so
yeah
important. If because a lot of people are saying, given the circumstances, whether it's because they don't have a good teacher or maybe they started late, and they always ask, is it too late to start, or to can I become a concert pianist? Can I become a performer? And I always don't really know how to answer because it's something that I think you have to feel in your gut. If you feel like this is what I want to do, then you're going to do it, and you don't really sit there and question yourself. And it seems like you are exactly that. You know that if you don't do so well, you start the next day and you keep going, and there's no
yeah
turning back. So I think that's a great inspiration for a lot of people.
yeah. As I was saying, I think the key is just to be positive. It's like I think for me, I don't keep a goal like I want to be a pianist by 25. I tell myself I need to be a pianist, I want to be a pianist, and if that happens at 35 instead of 25, I'm okay with it.
Hmm.
I just want to be it. So I think if people start thinking this way, they're not going to be really sad about the fact that they're not doing well today, because they know that they've got time. But again, that might, people should not take it negatively. They should not be like, I want to do it at 105. It kind of gets a bit, and people might get laid back. But yeah, it's better to keep like, time. You should not like force yourself, especially if you've had the similar like situations I have, with not very good training or not with a lot of exposure. I think it's better to give yourself time to grow into this, field, and that's
Hmm.
going to really help.
I'm very fascinated by your positive thinking. How do you do it? Especially in 2020. I mean, how do you do it?
Just the way I was brought up.
You must have really good parents. Kudos to your parents.
Yeah, I
To
mean,
always stay
I,
so positive. I mean, it's
yeah,
really great, and I think there needs to be more of that mindset.
yeah, they've done like everything possible for, I mean, I think they want me to be a pianist more than I want me to be a pianist. So it's a huge thing for them. I don't think they ever gave up, when they felt like, okay, we are not. I think they know that they, whatever they were doing, they were giving their best, but that wasn't enough. And that never like, stopped them from doing it. They just
Mm.
kept on going on, and they went like, okay, it didn't happen. We're gonna try once more.
Mm.
And, I look at that and I'm like, if they can do so much, and I have had more experience than they have in terms of, music. So I shouldn't be the one giving up. And, I should just keep moving forward. And, we'll see what happens tomorrow with, if you have a will, you have a way.
That's really great. I don't I don't have anything else to add to that. I mean, I think that one point of just staying positive. If you don't do so well, it's a new day the next day, start over and keep going. That's great because that's basically embodiment of my keep striving motivation that I always try to tell people. And yeah, I mean, you're so much more positive than I am. So in a way, you embody keep striving even more than I do. So
I would like to ask you something, if you don't mind,
sure.
just from someone who wants to be a performer, a classical pianist, to a classical pianist.
Hmm.
What's the start? Where's the start? Like, at what point do you get out of, the learning phase and step foot in the performing phase?
I
Right.
mean, I don't think the phases are exclusive. They don't start and end and then the next one start. And I think it's similar to what you were saying about how it's more of a internal determination that you're going to be a performer. You don't question whether are you going to do it or not. But I also understand the question from a more practical side, and there's a lot of trial and error. I mean, I tried entering competitions because usually that's how you get your name out there and that's how you get management and performance opportunities and more contacts, and that's how the snowball starts. But I got lucky and I got accepted to just a Young Artists Foundation, which is management but more geared towards young artists, and so a bit more hands-on in career development sometimes. And that's how I've been getting my performances. Half of them are through that, but half of them are also through random invitations I get through social media just because they've listened to me play on YouTube. So that's kind of how it started. In 2018 summer, I got my first kind of official invitation from Singapore, and it came out of nowhere, and I was like, whoa. I just got signed to Young Artist Foundation. They hadn't lined up anything for me yet because I just signed the papers not too long ago, and then I got this invitation through the email, and they were just looking for young performers, young musicians, and they found me on YouTube. So that's how it started, and so that was like my official start of the performing phase, if I would call it performing phase. And that's when I really uh, started performing. So yeah, that's kind of how it started. It's kind of happened simultaneously for me. I think it's a mixture of good luck, good timing, but also I was prepared to perform because I had been learning so many pieces. So I had the repertoire and I would be ready to make them into concert program.
Yeah, I have been following you since your Juilliard days. And, from there till you're here now. So,
Yeah. So you
yeah,
really started from the very beginning from my vloging days. Because I
yeah,
started vlogging at Juilliard,
yeah,
Columbia.
I won't say very first vlog, but probably your fifth and sixth or sixth vlog.
That's
Yeah,
pretty early enough. That's almost 3 years ago. It just occurred to me last week that I've been doing vlogs for almost 3 years, and this constant YouTube videos almost every week has been going on for 3 years. And yeah, I'm grateful for your support and everyone's support.
you're like one of the first pianists I actually listened to once I
Really?
started listening to, yeah, YouTube
Oh,
performances. It was a huge deal for me, to come up here and have this conversation with you. It
oh.
really means a lot to me.
Thank you. Oh no, I mean, I think I am very inspired by you because you are so positive. I think I have to remind myself that today might be bad and just keep going. I also have a similar mindset that there's no turning back, but not because I'm forced into it, but just because I am so involved with it. I just don't see any other things outside of what I've been doing. So, yeah, I think I have learned a lot from your positive thinking, and that's great. Do you think you'll stay in India actually for your career development and just what
I
you see?
I I am planning to do my master's outside to get a better
Ah.
training because we don't have master's program in India.
Are you in a bachelor in music right now?
I am doing a bachelor in music with psychology and English, which
Oh,
is probably
hey. I didn't know that. Now that's an interesting point. Why did you choose English and psychology?
I'm being extremely honest here. They were a bonus with the music.
Hmm.
So they were not something I was aiming to do when I got out of school. So when the university I'm in is one of the very few, or probably one of the two to three universities that actually provide bachelors in Western classical music.
Mm,
And I would say, from whatever research I have done, I think that is the best place to do bachelor's in Western classical music in India.
mm,
So, but they don't have a master's program.
mm,
So I really want to learn more, and so Going outside, I think would help me, but again, it's a challenge because I need to, improve myself, and that's what I'm aiming at the moment. And once I get to go outside and have a better exposure and can perform a little bit there and understand um, what it actually feels like being a classical musician, I can get back here and spread that vibe to my people.
And do you have any dreams of how you would come back and share that experience in classical music?
So I have seen this thing growing up that whenever someone comes from like if whenever there have been any classical concerts, it's usually by someone who's coming from outside. Like
Mm.
not the concerts that happen in music school, but concerts just, in some clubs or, party halls or concert halls. We don't have a lot of concert halls, but they are usually by people who are coming from outside. And that, the entire concept of this person, like if I am trained outside and I'm coming from outside after performing there, people will come and watch me, and people will ask me to perform for them. But if someone says that, okay, the one who's performing today is someone born and brought up in India and has been trained in India, but she'll be playing Western classical music, it doesn't have much of an effect on
Hmm.
people who are going to come to listen to me, and also people who are going to, give me that opportunity. So
That's
I
very
need to
interesting.
have, yeah, I need to have something that would, you know, give them, that would be the key to,
Mm.
my performance here. So obviously I'll be performing a little bit before I go for my masters and everything, but they won't be like really large scale performances that would, make me, classical performer, if you say that way. And I think going outside would give me that exposure.
Mm. Well, best of luck, and I'm sure you can do it because of your. Again, I think a lot of it is how you think, and I think you have a great mindset to keep on going, keep striving towards this path. So,
Yeah,
great.
thank you.
Thank you so much. That was definitely very inspiring because I think her positive thinking and that kind of driven mindset is so important. And I hope you learned something or got inspired just like I did. If you've enjoyed any of our episodes of Classical Chats, please subscribe because the more people there are here, the more exciting it is for everyone to come on to share their stories. And I just think it's so great to have a community like this where it doesn't matter who you are, but you still love classical music and have a journey to share with everyone. So that's my goal. Hope you join. Thank you so much. See you soon.